The room is getting warm. It's good. It's been an amazing day. I feel so honored to be here. But more than anything, I want to say thank you to Nidal, to Lengua. This is a gift to me, to all of you, to be able to hear these conversations. We don't get this every day in our restaurant lives. We get busy. We do a lot of things. We don't have time. We don't have enough time to read, let alone listen to people. So thank you. This is a real gift. And we've heard some amazing conversations. I'm here at the end, try to sum it up in some way. I chose this title, Let There Be Light, because I think there's a lot of light that needs to be shed on the restaurant industry. I did not choose the other title, Is Sustainability an Attractive Brand Value? This is such a complicated title. This is such a complicated topic. You know, here we are in the restaurant industry. We are one of the biggest factors for climate change. If you just think about a couple words like agriculture, animals, transportation, refrigeration, transformation of ingredients, more refrigeration, and food waste. We are part of the problem. Can we be part of the solution? That's the question. And I don't have an answer to that. But like so many things, this subject has two different sides to it. There's a good side, and there's also a bad side. And most often we find ourselves switching back and forth. Where are we on that side of that thin red line, the sustainability and marketing? This is an elephant. This is the elephant in the room. I feel this elephant in the room every time I have to talk about sustainability and marketing. This is an elephant by Maurizio Cattelan. So the elephant in the room is the thing that nobody really wants to talk about, but everyone feels, takes up a lot of space in the room. He put a sheet over the elephant. It's a metaphor. Can we hide that elephant? We can never hide it. The sheet is never big enough. And when that sheet has the word sustainability on it, it's even worse. Is this a dirty topic? Sustainability and marketing to be an attractive brand value? I think it can be. I think we have to be careful about this. How we use those words, how we apply them to our businesses. There's a lot of good we can do, but I think there's a lot of bad we can do too. And more importantly, does this work, us wanting to be sustainable, actually make a difference to the world and to our businesses? I don't have the answers to these questions, but I think it's really important that we ask them and that we continue to ask ourselves in the restaurant industry. What does that word mean to us? Sustainability. Welcome to the unexpected. This is my husband, Massimo Bottura, and I'm not going to assume that everyone knows who I am, because they don't. We have a restaurant. We opened in 1995, small restaurant with big dreams in a small town of Modena, northern central Italy. What was our business plan? Get a Michelin star. That is the worst business plan that anyone could ever have, believe me. It took so long to achieve that goal. 6 years, we're about to give up, and we finally got the first one. That was a sort of a light in the tunnel that said, okay, keep going, keep working on that. And it became our obsession. I'm not embarrassed to say it. 18 years working, because once you get one star, you want another one, and then you want another one. So yeah, 18 years to get 3 Michelin stars. That's a long time. It's a lot of dedication. That's a lot of hours put in the kitchen, on the floor, marketing, you know. But marketing has never been something we really do. It's part of who we are, because what we do is try to promote culture. Our Osteria Francescana is a restaurant, but it's a lab about ideas, about culture, about knowledge, about sharing that with others. It's a small place where we train people, teach them to learn, hopefully send them out in the world a little bit better. We create tourism, we create industry in Modena. People come to us from all over the world. We're a little bit of a vortex there, hopefully doing good things. And we like to do the unexpected. I love this picture of Massimo and I, because we're under a neon light that says red, white, and fucking blue. Because that's the way we roll. That's what we do. We just go out there and do the unexpected. It's the power of two. Sometimes we've got two people, not just one. One can throw the ball, and the other one can catch it and throw it back. And you start a game, and you start playing, and you don't think about what the outcome is going to be because you're just so in the game. And that's what we've been doing. But also, I'm here to talk about sustainability. To talk about something, you got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk. So I'm going to tell you about the last 8 years, what we've been doing in sustainability. We started 2 projects. One called Food for Soul, very unexpected, wasn't in the master plan in any way whatsoever. We started a nonprofit to try to address the issue of food waste and social isolation. We've been opening up a series of soup kitchens all around the world. Like I said, wasn't in the master plan. Project where we have gone into global communities that we would have never expected to be in. On the other hand, we started another project, tiny, local, focused, called Tortellante. We put together 2 very different groups of people, special needs young adults and retired pasta makers, grandmothers, aunts, uncles, to make tortellini, to bring light and future to a group of diversely abled young people who had no vision of the future and no skills to bring in to their community. Very small, very local. And these 2 projects are the only thing I know about sustainability. Food for Soul began as an experiment. It came from this tiny little idea that Massimo Bottura had on a Sunday morning. We were 2013, end of the year, finally people were starting to talk about this Milan Expo that was coming. It was going to come in 2015. Italians are always a little bit late. So the theme gets announced at the end of 2013. Feed the planet, energy for life. What a great topic, right? How important is that if we think about how forward-thinking they were? A huge expo, countries coming from all over the world. 6-month pop-up. Massimo immediately started getting calls. Can you do this pop-up? Can you do this dinner? Are you going to be, do you want a restaurant space in the exhibition hall? And the more questions, the more people were asking him to do something, the more he realized that none of that was what he wanted to do. And he started thinking about how he could address the issue of feed the planet in his own way. And so one Sunday morning, he said to me, I have an idea. I always sit down when Massimo has an idea because I really don't know what's coming. And the second thing about that idea is already happening before it even comes out of his mouth. I know that. He said, I want to open a soup kitchen. I will stand up now. During Milan Expo. And I want to cook with the surplus food, the waste, the inevitable waste that's going to come out of that expo, that fair, that fairground. And I want to cook for people in need. And I'm going to call all of my friends, the chefs I know, the sponsors, the people we work with, people who make coffee and water and furniture. I'm going to call artists. I'm going to call architects. And together, we are going to address the issue of Feed the Planet. I was terrified. Like I said, it took us 18 years to get here, 3 Michelin stars. This was a huge problem. This was going to be like damage control 101. Everything could go wrong. We had no idea how to run a soup kitchen. We'd never done that. We had no idea how to work with supermarkets who were going to give us food surplus, or how much of that there was, or how little of that, or how ugly it was going to be. We were working with prime ingredients every day in our kitchen. And then I'm going to ask chefs to come and cook with things that are less than what they do in their restaurants. And are they going to do that too? Are they going to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to cook with this really ugly zucchini and this meat that's about to go bad. And during Expo, where there's journalists and there's the press, and maybe they're going to come and see what I'm doing. And then there are these people who are food insecure and maybe homeless, and going through a difficult time in their life, and am I going to be able as a chef transform this ugly, unwanted food into something beautiful and delicious and worthy of the dignity that those people deserve? Yeah, it was a nightmare, but Massimo believed in it, and so that's what we did. This is one of our projects. This is Rio 2016. I love this image. I wanted to share it with you. It shows the kitchen. It shows a modern building. There's some artwork here by Vic Muniz. Food for Soul is our association. We didn't start here in Rio. We started in Milan. It was called Refettorio Ambrosiano. It still is open. It's still there. Refettorio comes from the word reficere, the Latin, to remake, to make new, to rebuild. That's what we were doing. We were taking the model of a soup kitchen and thinking about it in a different way. How were we going to do that? We were going to take everything we knew from our 20 years of hospitality and apply it to a soup kitchen. The power of beauty. Always have art, always have beauty. The more beauty there is, the more beauty there is for everyone. The quality of ideas. Who's going to cook in the soup kitchen? The chefs that we know. They do it in their restaurants. They've become famous. They're fantastic. Let's bring them in. And then the art of hospitality. I don't want anyone lining up in a soup kitchen asking for something like Oliver Twist. I want you to sit down at the table. You're welcome. Join us. Relax. I'm going to serve you what I can serve you. This night is for you, just like in our restaurants. So we applied that to the soup kitchen model, and we opened the doors of Refettorio Ambrosiano, and we were so lucky to have over 100 chefs come through. Mauro was there, and René Redzepi was there, and Juan Rocca was there, Nidal was there, Carlos Garcia was there, Daniela was there, so many people. And they showed the next generation of chefs their generosity and what a small effort can do to change people's perception of food waste, of poverty, of how food is a powerful tool for change. And then Expo was over. 6 months, done. We thought we were packing up our bags, leaving. But we weren't, because that little soup kitchen wasn't going to close. And it was going to stay open with us or without us, because they didn't need us anymore. They didn't need Massimo Bottura, and they didn't need René Redzepi. They had collected all the recipes anyway that every chef had cooked. The volunteers who 1 year earlier had protested about opening this little soup kitchen in this small little neighborhood of Milan, they were the ones opening the doors every day. And they were opening doors on weekends for the elderly and the young kids. And more importantly, it didn't belong to us anymore. It belonged to that community. That community that didn't want us now felt like they had an identity. Outside of the Refettorio Ambrosiano, there are the words in neon, "No more excuses." That became a new identity for that whole community. And so, what Massimo and I realized was that not only was the Refettorio Ambrosiano going to stay open, but we're going to open another one, and another one, and another one. Because in looking for a solution to address the issue of food waste and social isolation, we had found that we had a much wider impact, could change a community, the way they thought about itself, the way they cared about each other, and the way they interacted every day. And so that's what we've been doing for the last 7 years, is opening up refettorios. This is our next project. This is another project we've been working on. It's called Tortellante. It's not global at all. It's super local. It's small. It's focused. Tortellinis, as you see, are very small. So that's the best metaphor I can give you for this little project. It comes right out of my family, my heart, my son. This project was created for Charlie. If you ask Massimo what he's bringing on a deserted island, he's going to tell you every time, tortellini. For those of you who don't know what tortellini is, because I didn't know what tortellini was when I moved to Modena, it is an egg pasta, rolled very thin, cut into a small square, where you put in a filling, an umami filling, like a 500-year-old recipe. Prosciutto, mortadella, Parmigiano Reggiano, a little bit of special secret sauce, some nutmeg. And then you fold it up in this incredibly delicate and intricate and beautiful way so that when you drop it in the broth, it's not going to open up and the filling's going to go everything. It's going to stay there because a tortellino is a container for ideas. So when we started thinking about Charlie, he was 16 when we started thinking about this. What was he going to do in the future? How are we going to connect Charlie, who has special needs, to our restaurant industry? Was he going to be peeling potatoes in the kitchen? No. The idea was, could we teach Charlie to make tortellini? And not just one Charlie, but many Charlies? Because if the restaurant industry can't be the ones who take in the disabled, the diverse, people down on their luck, people who are having a hard time, special needs, who can? You know, we're a bunch of pirate ships out there. I always think of our restaurant, we're scraggly mutts, you know? We're not, most of the people in the restaurant industry are not highly educated. A lot of times, a lot of the stories you hear about these great chefs is that they never graduated from college, or that someone told them down the road, you really shouldn't go to college. Rene Redzepi tells that story. You know, his guidance counselor. I don't think you should go to college. Do something else. Go to restaurant school. That's always been the route. You don't know what to do with your teenage son. He's kind of reckless. Send him to restaurant school. Maybe he can be a waiter. So why don't we in the restaurant industry also take in and really be accountable for that amazing group of, you know, scraggly mutts out there that might just be the next best chef in the world, right? Anyway, Massimo loved this idea. Just imagine Charlie and the tortellini factory. And so we started. We didn't know what we were doing, but we started as an after-school activity. Let's see if these guys, kids on the autistic spectrum, Down syndrome, different kinds of disabilities, could make tortellini. We sat them around a table. We thought about who would be the best people to teach them to make tortellini. Well, of course, people who really know how to make tortellini, but not chefs who don't have time to dedicate, you know, they're running to their restaurants. Let's think about people who have lots of time. Retired, nonnas, your aunt, someone who has a little bit of extra time, someone who's been making tortellini all their life. They don't know the recipe. Their hands know the recipe. They don't need to tell you how to make it. They're going to show you how to make it. And so these res d'ore, as they're called, golden makers, became our teachers, became the ones who would sit side by side, day after day, in this after-school activity, teaching the kids how to make tortellini. And you know what we found out? They were really good at it. Really good at it. Not only were they good at it, but the first year that we did this project, they were able to bring home every night, dividing up all the tortellini. If there were 10 people in the room, you divide it by 10. They brought their tortellini home. So all of a sudden, that disabled kid for his family was the one who was bringing home dinner. And it was a celebration. And that created a sense of identity and a sense of eagerness and wanting to make more tortellini and better tortellini. And so every week, these kids would come back like really eager to make better tortellini. And soon, we realized that this wasn't an after-school activity at all. This was an after-school activity in the sense that once your school is done and there's nothing out there for you, you can become a tortellini maker. And so, even before we opened the doors of our pasta shop, we had more orders than we would ever, ever be able to fill. And that's Tortellante. This is New York, 1882, September 4th, Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, you know, electricity. There was a war between Thomas Edison and Westinghouse. What kind of electricity, alternating current or direct current? I'm not going to get into the details. It's not important. Somebody won that war. It was Edison. Maybe one of the reasons he won that war was not because his electricity was better. He just knew how to market it better. He knew how to convince people that he was right. And on September 4th, in New York City, downtown, he organized this great event. In cohorts was the New York Times, because that is the New York Times building. Okay? There was also hospitality. In front of the New York Times building, they organized a picnic. Tables, chairs, tablecloths, champagne, waiters. It was like a big deal, and everyone was invited to see the lights of the New York Times building be turned on. Because before that, there was darkness. There was darkness when 4 o'clock hit, and the tall buildings from downtown made shade, and you had to have your, kerosene lamps or a torch if you wanted to see someone. At night, you were like this. And so Thomas Edison organized this whole big event. He had his backers. He had his J.P. Morgans and his Vanderbilts there. And boom, the lights go on. The champagne is flowing. Everything is glowing. And we're still there. Nothing has changed ever since. I watched this on the Gilded Age, by the way. But when I watched it, something came to mind. I thought, wow, it's kind of how we launched our refectorios. We used a big event as an excuse, as a way of bringing light to something that was dark. No one was talking about food waste. No one was talking about social isolation. So we used Expo to bring light to something. And we used hospitality. We didn't have champagne. That's okay. And we did the same thing when we opened up our next refectorio in Rio. We opened it up during the Olympics. We wanted to bring light to what was happening in the streets of Rio, that it wasn't all beautiful, the Olympics, that a lot of things were being hidden, and that maybe it was time to see them. And we did this because we wanted the chefs to be there, and the journalists to be there, and the articles to be written. And then in 2017, in our next refectorio in London, it was during a big food fair. And we partnered with a newspaper, the Evening London Standard. Not a great newspaper, but it's okay. It got our message across. So when I saw the thing about Edison, I thought, maybe this isn't an old trick. It's a new one. Or maybe it's not a new one, it's an old one. Sometimes things don't go as you expect. This is our refectorio in Modena. And I love this image, and I love this refectorio. This is a painting done on the wall. It tells the story of San Gimignano, patron saint. It's in chiaroscuro. It goes from light to darkness. The story is this. Attila the Hun is coming through from Northern Europe and descending upon Italy. And we know he's coming. The town of Modena knows he's coming. But they have no arms. They have no way of defending themselves against this marauder. And San Gimignano, who was not a saint then, did some magic. He brought in the fog. So much fog, so thick, this white blanket of fog, that it covered everything. And Attila the Hun missed Modena, didn't destroy the church, didn't kill the townspeople. He just went right by. And that's what this mural, this story tells. But this refectorio tells another story, because this refectorio is closed. We closed it at the end of 2019. So I can't even blame the pandemic on closing that refectorio. It just didn't work out. Didn't work out with our partners. There were problems, there were complications. In Modena, just behind Osteria Francescana. So every time I see this image, it kind of makes me cry. But it makes me realize that things don't always work out. And it's really difficult running a nonprofit. It's complicated. You're always seeking money. You're always seeking a better way to communicate what you're doing. You're always out there. It's not like a business where you sell something, and if that something is good, you can be successful. Nonprofits are fixing problems. There's It's so messy. Sometimes things don't always go right. And when you see light and beauty, you also have to know that there's a little bit of darkness lurking behind it. But we're doing okay. Food for soul. We've managed over the last 7 years to open 13 refectorios in 9 countries. You can kind of see them dotted here. We've recovered a lot of food. We've served a lot of people meals. During the pandemic, we had to pivot radically because we weren't inviting people in to sit around that beautiful table and share a meal together, kind of our working model. We had to create meals to go. So over 1 million meals we were able to serve in Paris, in London, in Rio, in Milan. We opened a refectorio in Mérida in that time, started a project in Lima, Peru. We had our refectorio in Naples and one in Bologna, and started planning the future, other ones that we would open. This year we opened 2022, Geneva, Sydney, San Francisco is up and running, and I'm going to New York 2 days to see how things are going for the next one in Harlem. So there is a good side to this, and we are making progress. And we do have plans to make more refectorios. But I think the real goal is that we don't have to open refectorios anymore because we will have solved the problem of food waste and social isolation. But until then, I also hope that I don't need events to open refectorios, and I don't need newspaper articles written about it, because it's just going to be the normal thing to do in every city, to have a place that can change a corner of a community, a neighborhood, because you're serving food to people in need. And Tortellante is growing too. This is Charlie and I. Just last week, we opened the Pasta Lab 4 years ago. We have 24 amazing tortellante who are making tortellini with teachers and psychologists and our volunteers and our grandmothers in Res d'Ora. And they're selling the tortellini to some really good restaurants. Osteria Francescana, Cavallino, our new restaurant in Maranello, Franceschetta, a Spizzico, which is this like fast casual all over Italy. They've decided to take our tortellini as well. We make different tortellini for every single restaurant. The recipe is tweaked just slightly. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Cavallino has the small ones. Franceschetta has the more medium-sized ones. And Francescana, of course, has to have the best of all. There's so many people who want tortellini that in fall 2022, we're going to open a little shop where we're actually going to be selling to the public. And so our tortellini makers will be also the face of Tortellante and start a whole new business. So that's where we're going. Sustainability, marketing, it's really complicated. Should we be praising brands, companies that are out there doing good? Or should it just be the norm? I mean, should it just be normal that every business incorporates inside their business projects that go out there? They should be expected to address sustainability in some way or another. That's what I think. I'm not here to get praise from you, that's for sure. And I actually don't even think I would advise anyone to do what we did. We did it unexpectedly. Like I said, it wasn't in the plan. But if you do decide to do this, if you do decide to take risks and go out there and risk your stars or your reputation because you feel like you have to do something, you will learn. You will grow. It's going to be really tough, sometimes tragic, but there will be moments of joy. I also want you to think about this. Sometimes I think sustainability, we think about it as something that we add on to our business, that we have to do, not only to be marketing, not only to become an attractive brand value, but we just feel this responsibility, okay? I think we have to stop adding on because it never adds up. We have to start looking in. We have to take our hand, put it in a hat. We don't know what's in that hat, but we hope that there's a rabbit. We're going to pull it out, and that rabbit comes from inside your hospitality group, inside your restaurant. Sustainability is really asking the hard questions. How sustainable are you in terms of the human factor, the people who work for you? How many people who work for you can have a family, get married, have kids? Creativity. Are we giving people enough room to grow? Are we giving our wait staff, I'm not talking about the kitchen, room to be creative and grow? Or the people who work in the offices, back of house, crunching the numbers. Are we stimulating them? Can people buy a car, house? Is this job a good job? We really have to ask ourselves that question. This is not the most attractive version of the sustainability marketing equation, that's for sure. It's not going to get you an article in Fine Dining Lovers. It's not going to get you probably on the 50 best list. It might get you a green Michelin star, but I doubt it, because they're looking out there. They're looking at, how you're going to reduce your carbon footprint. They're not necessarily looking at how you run your company. But I think it's the most important thing you can do. I also think it's probably the best thing for your business, just because it makes sense. When I think about sustainability in marketing, I never think about public opinion or social media or even the press, because I don't think they matter that much. I like to think about the people who work for me, because they matter. They are my best marketing tool. When I can see a chef like Taka, who has been with us for 15 years, find love in Peru with a Mexican woman named Karime, make that happen, work in different restaurants, one in Florence, one in Modena, have a child, have successful businesses, have that Mexican chef be the first female chef to get a Michelin star working in Italy, and then let Taka go, which we did this year, to be with Karima at Gucci Osteria, and let him leave the kitchen, the doors of Osteria Francescana, and feel good about that. That, to me, is sustainability. The happier, the healthier, the more successful the people who work for us are, the better our businesses are going to be. Shine light on the people that you love the most, the ones that show up every day, daily, and make your business successful. I think progress is only possible when we look at the world from another point of view, from upside down, like the tortellante, or when we light up a dark corner, when we work from the inside out, when we move forward, often not knowing exactly where we're going, but we believe in the direction. The time is now. So there you go. Thank you.